Finally, finally, I am able to come at you guys with a brand new Friday episode of the podcast. It has been far too long since we've been able to do this. And so it feels good to get back behind the mic and be able to jump back here and chop it up with y'all on the Friday. Now, we are condensed in terms of time. So we'll get right to the proceedings this evening, which sucks a little bit. And I may be able to get through everything and still have a chance to chop it up with y'all. Because I've been meaning to talk to you guys about a number of things, college football, some stuff that I've been watching, and kind of get your opinion on some things maybe that you're watching, this, that, and the third. But I digress. I'm already babbling. I already told you I'm short on time. Let's get to the proceedings this evening. You know what it is. LouieTeeNetwork podcast starts now. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 369th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Friday, October 20th. We are 6 weeks through the NFL season, heading into week 7. Week 7 got kicked off with Thursday night football. Jaguars were victorious. We will talk about that. We got some Thursday night leftovers to attend to. So those right now are kind of chilling in the fridge. I'm going to go ahead and heat those up, put them in the microwave. We're going to bust those down while we talk about that game. But that's in a little bit. First, we have some business to attend to, something that I've been wanting to talk to you guys for a while now about, and that's the NFL trade deadline. Last year, we saw movement with teams dealing players, getting some value for them. I think it is a sign. I thought last year was the first year where it felt wide open. Brady wasn't Brady, and you could see the end was near. The Chiefs, while they were good, they were beatable. They look beatable again this year. There is no dominant team in either conference. I think the closest that we have are the 49ers. They were beat by the Cleveland Browns. The Lions look really good, but they're far from, unbeatable. So I think you may see some teams go for it again, and I don't blame them. Let's jump into the Gem Droppin Session, shall we? I think we shall. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So I want to talk to you about the trade deadline, but more specifically, bad football teams and where they sit. Now, when you think about the trade deadline, generally you're thinking about bad ball clubs looking to offload players, get draft capital that will help them turn around their situation much faster. Generally, you don't want expiring contracts or guys that are good football players but aren't going to be a part of your program moving forward. They're not a part of the rebuild. They're not a part of the problem, but they're not a part of the solution either, because by the time you're ready to be good, they're probably not going to be playing their best football, or you're not going to pay them when their contract is up. So you're looking for some cheap labor, and you're looking to take that quality of football player and parlay it into some draft capital to help you replace that guy and maybe get something else. So you look at it from that angle of the bad ball club and what they're willing to part ways with, because you also have to take this into consideration. If you suck and you're trying to get better, it doesn't always make sense to give away some of your best players, especially if you've got a young rebuild going on. If you're in the middle of a rebuild, but you're not really like all the way committed to it, i.e. the Minnesota Vikings, you can't be giving away all of your stuff because you're not really truly committed to a full rebuild, right? If you're the Carolina Panthers, you're the Denver Broncos, you're committed to a full rebuild. So just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. Now, if you're Carolina, there ain't shit on your roster that anybody wants other than Brian Burns. If we're not talking Brian Burns, what are we talking about? Anyway, let's get to D block, D block, D block, D block. Let's go to the D block, because I think there are some opportunities for teams to improve their situation. We've already seen 3 trades take place. Randy Gregory traded to the San Francisco 49ers, and he got a sack in his first game. Of course he did, with the 49ers against the Browns. We've seen Van Jefferson traded from the Rams to the Falcons. Makes sense. His dad Sean Jefferson played for the Atlanta Falcons organization. I don't think that has anything to do with it, but they did trade for him. They could use some wide receiver help, and I think it's a good fit for him. And he got open on Sunday versus Washington and had a chance to have a touchdown in his first game as a Falcon, but Desmond Ridder overshot him. We've also seen the Chiefs, and we knew they were going to do something like this. I just didn't know who they were going to go after. They went after a familiar name, someone that knows their offense that can come in and help right away, in Mecole Hardman. They traded for him from the Jets. He wasn't being used in New York, and it got to a point with the Jets where you go, with all the weapons that you have, how are you going to get all these guys? It almost felt like overkill. And I talked about that. It felt like overkill. Like, you went out and got Alan Lazard. You went and got Randall Cobb as a favor to Aaron Rodgers. You already had Wilson, and you had Elijah Moore. You went out and you signed Mecole Hardman. You traded Elijah Moore. But how many of these guys do you really think you're going to be able to get on the field? Not to mention, you got a slew of tight ends that are really good. You got running backs that you want to get on the field. How many of these guys do you think you're going to really be able to showcase? It just felt like overkill, and they admitted it by trading Mecole Hardman back to the Kansas City Chiefs. And so that's the move the Chiefs are going to make. I don't know if that's enough, to be honest with you, but that's what they decided to do. We'll see if it benefits them or not. But let's go through the list of bad teams first, and then we can talk about who might be on D block. So in the AFC, you got 3 teams I think that should be in consideration here. Don't ever count out other teams that may seem like they may not be interested in offloading pieces, but I like to strictly stick to the bad teams, because if you're 3-3, if you're borderline, you're trying to win. You're not looking to give away pieces. You're looking to try to make a push to make the playoffs. And in this sport, unlike basketball, or specifically basketball, you're not winning anything in basketball if you don't have the superstar talent. You're not winning anything. If you've got the talent, then you just need a piece or two to push you over the top. This is when you make a deal. If you're in basketball, in football, anybody can win the Super Bowl, right? You just got to get hot at the right time of the season. As long as you have a quarterback, obviously, that you got to have one of those. But if you got a quarterback, you got a shot. Anybody can win the Super Bowl. You get hot, all you got to do is win 3 or 4 games, depending on what your status is. You win 4 games, and it's yours. The trophy's yours, right? So we've seen teams get hot late in the season, parlay that into a championship. Now, again, you need the quarterback, whether it's the Giants as a 6 seed with Eli Manning, Packers a 6 seed with Aaron Rodgers, Brady, what were they, a 6 seed? Again, I just named 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, essentially. So, again, you understand how this works. So, Pats are 1-5. Broncos are 1-5. And Titans are 2-4 in the AFC. So, I don't want you guys to help me with this. If you can think of any players on those teams that would be viable trade candidates, list them in the comment section. I'm going to tell you the guys that I think hold value, maybe around league circles. For me, they hold value and maybe around league circles, and I think they can help a team that I also think the Patriots would be interested in, and these other teams would be interested in parting ways with. So you start with the Patriots. We know the Patriots have never been afraid to trade players away. They've already traded J.C. Jackson, traded for J.C. Jackson from the Los Angeles Chargers. So they're not afraid to shake and move. I was actually surprised that they did that, being that at the time when they made that trade, I think they were already 1-4, maybe 1-3. But you could see their season was going nowhere fast, and they still pulled the trigger. But it didn't cost them a whole hell of a lot. So I look at their roster, and I think of a few guys. in particular. Last year, we saw the 1-5 or 6 Detroit Lions trade TJ Hawkinson in the division to the Minnesota Vikings, and then they promptly won 8 of their last 9 games to end the season. 8 of their last 10 games, I believe it was. I think tight end is a key position in this league. The Patriots have Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki, who can help a football team. Either one of those guys, I think, are trade candidates. I look at Kendrick Bourne, and I think he's a damn good wide receiver, as a third option. I mean, if you're desperate and you need him as a second option, I think he could suffice. But if you need a third option, a team like the Chargers, for instance, and again, I wouldn't do that if I were them, but because you drafted Quentin Johnston and Mike Williams will be back next year, obviously. Josh Palmer is still good, and you still got Keenan Allen. I wouldn't do it, but a team like that, that is kind of on the border. Pittsburgh is another team I look at. Could Allen Robinson, just that experiment is over with. Like the Rams tried it, the Steelers, it's over. But maybe when they get Deontay Johnson back, Allen Robinson becomes more of a viable option. We'll see. But a team that needs a third option at receiver, I think a guy like Kendrick Bourne is a really good option. I think that Jabril Peppers can help a football team at the safety position. He is a Swiss Army knife. I don't know if you guys saw the hit he put on Devontae Adams that forced the interception. Jabril Peppers can help a football team. If you're looking for some safety help, you're looking for a guy that can come down, be a physical presence. Jabril Peppers can do a little bit of everything. I think if you're looking for that kind of a football player, he can help. And I think the Patriots would be willing to move on. I don't think they're willing to part ways with anybody major, no Matthew Judons or anybody like that. I know he's been banged up this season, but I think they see him as a guy that they need on their football team if they're going to turn things around even next year. So Broncos, I think everything's for sale. Nothing's off limits. I don't think they have anything that is untouchable. The price just has to be right. Jerry Jeudy obviously is the first name that comes to mind. I think Cortland Sutton's available as well. I don't know how you feel about Sutton. He just doesn't have any explosiveness anymore. But that doesn't mean he doesn't serve a purpose in this league. Jerry Jeudy still has the ability to be a difference maker. I think it's just one of those situations, maybe like Evan Ingram, who had a lot of drops and was disappointing as a first-round pick. And then he goes to Jacksonville, and he looks like the guy that the Giants thought they were getting when they drafted him out of Ole Miss. I think Jerry Jeudy is probably in that same conversation. He just probably needs a fresh start. Somewhere where he's not looked upon as a bust, somewhere where he's not carrying the weight of being the first-round pick and those expectations that come with it. He just needs a clean slate and a fresh start. I don't know what anybody's willing to give up for him. And then that whole Steve Smith fiasco that happened doesn't help his draft stock any or doesn't help his trade value any. But at the end of the day, if the Broncos are willing to part ways with him for a day 3 pick, I think you can move him, right? I don't know what they're looking for, what their asking price is for Jerry Jeudy, but he's got to be one of the top wide receivers available in the market right now. I look at Patrick Surtain as the apple of everyone's eye. If you're looking for a game-changing piece to add to your football team, like the Rams made all of those moves that one year when they were pushing their chips to the center of the table, like that blockbuster deal they had to get Jalen Ramsey and then ultimately acquire, Von Miller and others to help them win the chip. This feels like that kind of a move. If somebody's serious about winning a championship, it may take a lot to pry him away from Denver. But if you're serious about adding a cornerstone to your football team, a foundational piece, a guy still on a rookie contract that you can build and grow with, I think Pat Surtain II may be that guy. I don't know if he gets moved or not. To me, I'm going to be honest with you. Patrick Surtain, to me, personally, is of more value to Denver after the season as a trade piece than he is right now. And if I'm Denver, I'm not looking to move him right now because we already know that Sean Payton is done with Russell Wilson. He's done with him. And he's going to want to draft his own quarterback. To me, I don't know what their draft situation looks like capital-wise. I would imagine that it's in the toilet because they gave up draft capital not only for Russell Wilson, but also to get Sean Payton and acquire him and pry him away from the Saints. I don't think their draft capital situation is in the best spot right now. So I would think that, you would probably need a guy like Patrick Surtain to sweeten the pot to be able to move up in the draft to get a quarterback if that's what you so desire, right? The Broncos are going to end up being a top 5 pick team. They stink. So I don't know how much higher they need to go, but if they are looking to entice someone to move, Patrick Surtain may be the man for the job. Now, if you don't have a first-round pick, all of that is moot because I'm not giving up my first-round pick for just a player. Just like we saw last year, the Panthers wanted to move up. They had to give up their first-round pick and DJ Moore. That's how that works. So if you're the Broncos and you have a first-rounder, I don't know how much longer you're in jail in the first round from the Russell Wilson deal. I don't know how much longer you have to pay for that. But if you've already paid your debt to the NFL society and you're back in the game in the first round, adding Patrick Surtain in a deal could get you where you want to go. So I think he may hold more value for you trying to get up to, say, get a Drake May or a Caleb Williams than he would be to trade him right now. Because the team you're trading him with, more likely than not, is going to be good. And that back end of the first round pick might not be that enticing to a team to move out. They may want the commodity. So we'll see. Anyway, I digress. A lot of guys on that team. As I mentioned, Cortland Sutton is another guy that's interesting. And again, I don't know if you're Denver, you're part of, this is a young team that you're trying to put together. You really don't want to get rid of guys like, Cooper, the edge rusher, who I look at and say he's really talented. I don't think those are guys you're trying to move. You're trying to build around guys like that. So I think it's the guys that were here before your GM got there, the guys that were there before Sean Payton got there, not the guys that they signed in free agency this year, even though they've moved on from a guy that they signed in free agency this year, and Frank Clark, and he looks like he's heading back to Kansas City. I think it's pretty much going to be the guys that were here prior to Payton being there, the Russell Wilsons, the Suttons, the Judys of the world, even, as I mentioned, the Pat Surtain, the seconds. Those are the kind of guys that I think they may be looking to move on from. Titans are 2-4. I don't like including 2 and 3 teams. You're 1 win away from getting back to 500. So the Steelers, the Packers, teams like that, I haven't included in this conversation because we'll see what happens. They've had their bye week, and we'll see what they're able to do coming off their bye. But the Titans are 2-4, and with the Jags winning on Thursday night, had the Jags lost, the Titans would have still been right within striking distance. But being that the Jags won and they're 5-2, the Titans are starting to fade into, the backdrop of that AFC South division. I mean, hell, the Texans are even better than them right now. So, and Tannehill's injured. They're probably more in a position to figure out what they have at the quarterback position. And so if you're doing that, it doesn't make sense to trade DeAndre Hopkins because your quarterback needs somebody to throw the football to. So if you're really trying to evaluate Malik Willis and Will Levis and some of those guys, and I don't think they've given up on the season yet. So I think when Tannehill's healthy, they're going to probably reinsert him. Honestly, I feel like the Titans are spinning their wheels in place. Like, what are we doing with Ryan Tannehill right now? Like, let's just figure out what we got at quarterback to see if either one of these guys are viable options, or do we need to keep, taking swings at the quarterback position in the draft? Like, we got to do something. This Tannehill isn't it. That's the one thing we can say about the Titans right now, is that Ryan Tannehill isn't the future at the quarterback position. So let's not waste time here. All right. You gave him 6 games. You're 2-4. He's injured. Let's just move on, right? If you were 4-2, different story, right? You're 2-4, offense is struggling, Tannehill's struggling, your team's struggling. Let's just see what the young fellas have. Let's just see what the young fellas are talking about. You go to the NFC, a lot more options to choose from on this side of the bracket. You got the 1-5 Giants, the 1-5 Arizona Cardinals, the 1-5 Chicago Bears, the 2-4 Minnesota Vikings, and the 0-6 Carolina Panthers. So a bevy of teams to choose from to pick up the phone and call to see if they're interested in letting go of one or two of their players. The Bears have already showed you that we've already moved on from, a guy that we aren't interested in holding on to. They just traded for him last year and he wasn't happy and they moved him. I don't think the Bears are in a position to trade anybody. They're building a roster. They're not looking to move players. They're looking to set the nucleus and foundation of their football team. And I don't think they're going to, even though they're struggling right now, I don't think they're going to move anybody as of, right now. So I don't think the Bears are really in this discussion, per se. But you start with the Giants, and it's obvious that if things don't turn around quickly for them, and I think it's already, the writing's on the wall. I mean, they can't score. Even if they somehow win on Sunday, this is a bad football team. And they can't score. And their offensive line is just putrid, and it's getting worse by the day. They continue to incur injuries on that offensive line. Saquon Barkley is one of the few commodities you have on that offensive side of the football. If I'm the Giants, I know he's not going to be back next year, more likely than not. Let's just go ahead and get something for him. Again, it's got to be the right price, because if you don't trade him, you're probably going to get a compensatory third-round pick. And that's how you think about these things, right? Why would I trade Saquon Barkley to you for a fourth-round pick when I could just let him walk in free agency and get a third-round compensatory pick? So it starts at a third-round pick for Saquon. And I'm probably, if I'm the Giants, I'm probably looking for it too, is what the price really is. Because even the third rounder, although that would be higher than any compensatory pick that you're going to get, it's still not enough value for me to not ride out the season and see where this goes. I think if someone comes knocking at the door or hitting their line with a 2, I think the Giants are listening, and they'd probably have to go ahead and take that opportunity to move Saquon Barkley. There's some other pieces there, too, that I think are interesting. Xavier McKinney, I think, is a fantastic safety. I'd love to add him if I'm a team, again, like Jabril Peppers. If you're looking for some safety help, a guy like Xavier McKinney makes a ton of sense. As you look around that roster, I mean, they just got Darren Waller. I know they're not probably looking to move him, but I'd at least inquire. I don't think they're using him properly. I'd at least inquire about whether he's available or not. I don't really know if anybody else is all that appetizing on that roster that they'd be willing to part ways with. I think Leonard Williams is struggling. I mean, if you're interested, but I'm not, honestly. I'm not. I mean, he's playing next to Dexter Lawrence and he's still not really producing anything. So I wouldn't want to do that. But if that's your cup of tea, if you fancy a guy like, Williams, knock yourself out. The Cardinals, I think the hottest name on the block, on D block right now, D block, is Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown. I think he, to me, is the guy that if you're looking for a receiver, if he's healthy, that's the best bang for your buck you're going to get in this market right now of the receivers that are available. I mean, obviously, if Devontae Adams is available or DeAndre Hopkins is available, then that changes. But you're going to have to give up a hell of a lot more for those guys than you are going to for Hollywood Brown. So just keep that in mind. He's playing excellent this year. If you trade for him, are you going to get the same Hollywood Brown, or are you going to get the one from Baltimore that struggled with concentration drops and staying healthy? I don't know. But the guy that I've seen this year looks like the guy that everyone thought he was going to be coming out of Oklahoma. So I think that's a guy that the Cardinals are definitely probably looking at as a commodity that they'd be willing to move. But I mean, again, that's a young team, Arizona, that you're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And right now, he's a big part. Like, are you really looking to move him? I mean, how important is it to you? I guess the question begs, are you going to pay him? If you're not, probably should move him. Probably should move him. Vikings are 2-4. They got a ton of stuff. But again, they're kind of rebuilding, but I don't think they've committed to a full rebuild. You know, they want to trade Kirk, but then who's going to actually trade for Kirk? The Jets were the team. They don't look like they're going to trade for any quarterback now. They feel like Zach Wilson and their defense can get them by until Aaron Rodgers is ready, if he's ready at all this season. Danielle Hunter, I think, is another one of these dudes that's a prime candidate for a team looking to upgrade their pass rush. He's a guy that can do that immediately for you. And what team isn't always looking to upgrade their pass rush? I think Danielle Hunter has to be someone that you look at. I know he's old, but I think he's still effective. Harrison Smith is a guy that probably is interesting if you're, again, I think there are other options that are younger that if you're looking for safety help, you probably would go in those directions before Harrison Smith. But again, we'll see what happens. Panthers, I've already made it abundantly clear. I don't want anything on their roster other than Brian Burns. And if they were turning down multiple first-round picks as compensation in the offseason, why are you going to take it now? It just doesn't make any sense. If you weren't willing to take 2 ones in the offseason, I don't think you're going to be willing to part ways with it. And let me just clarify. I don't know if that was offered to them, but I heard rumors that they were offered multiple ones. Now that may not be true, and it might have been just 1 and a 2 or something like that. But they were swatting teams away in the offseason. I don't think that changes now, but that's the only guy that interests me on that football team. I don't think anything else is, Adam Thielen's playing really well. I don't think you're trading for Adam Thielen. They got a receiver that I'm actually interested in Marshall from LSU that has requested a trade, and they've given him permission to find a trade partner. Just don't know if anybody's going to bite. I mean, I like him, and I think he's a young, talented receiver, and, being put in a different situation, maybe he's able to flourish, but that's just not happening in Carolina. So that's another piece, I guess, that I'd be interested in. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to Thursday night leftovers. Y'all know what it is. Head into the kitchen. Open up the microwave. Got some leftover Beyond Meat. For some of y'all, that didn't do anything for you. For me, that's a taco waiting to happen. Throw a couple of, pieces of lettuce on that thing. Hit that with a little bit of onions. We good to go. I might slap a little guac on that thing, but that's not necessary. It's good as is. Throw a little shell on the foreman real quick. We off and we running. All right. So let's go ahead and bust this thing down. Will Diggs says that the Steelers are 3-2. I think you're right. Are they 3-2? They beat the Ravens. They beat the Browns. Who else they beat? I know they lost to the 49ers. I know they lost to the Texans. And I'm missing a game. And they beat the Raiders, right? Right. So, yeah, they're 3-2. You're right. Absolutely spot on. 110% correct. Chargers are 2-3, so I didn't include them because they're not out of it yet, and I don't see them selling. They're not. I don't think they're going to be buyers or sellers at the trade market. But Khalil Mack probably won't be back next year. That's a name to keep in mind. He's already got 7 sacks on the season. If you're interested in 32-year-old Khalil Mack, knock yourself out. I'd go after Danielle Hunter first, but that's just me. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to Thursday night leftovers. 31-24 victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who improved to 5-2 on the season. And what a win for the Jaguars last night. And I think it's going to do wonders for them moving forward. Those types of wins continue to build character for a football team. So let's get into the Thursday night leftovers, shall we? Yeah, let's do that. Yes, Joshua Pittman. Beyond Meat is definitely edible. I wouldn't do it all the time. All right. But yeah, it's edible. Jacksonville with 2 more rushing touchdowns last night. Travis Etienne is now tied for second in the NFL with 7 rushing touchdowns, with Christian McCaffrey behind the leader in the league, Raheem Mostert, at 9. I talked about this last night on the show, and I didn't have the exact numbers, but I told you it just felt like Travis Etienne was finding the end zone a ton recently. And I'm like, this is what Jacksonville needs from him. And then my guy Q-Bone came on Super Chat and it was like, hey, that's 3 straight games of 2 rushing touchdowns for Travis Etienne. Makes sense because it felt like he's been finding pay dirt every week, multiple times. 7 on the season now for Travis Etienne. And he's starting to look like the guy that they invested early draft capital in to go along with Trevor Lawrence. Let's go to the next Thursday night leftover. This is Saints related. Derek Carr has now thrown for 300 yards 3 times this season. Last night, he just crept over the 300 mark again. However, this was the first time that the Saints have scored north of 20 points while doing it. Of those 3 games, they've only scored 20 or more points once, and that was last night with the 24 that they scored. The previous 2 times, he threw for 350 something, I believe, against the Texans. They scored 13 points. He threw for 300 and some odd yards in week 1 against the Titans. They scored 16 points. So I've talked about Derek Carr's passing yards and how they've turned out to be a lot of empty calories, really no nutritional value with those 300-yard passing days. They're 1-2 in those games, by the way. The only one they've won when he's gone over the 300-yard century mark is week 1 against the Titans, and that was a 16-15 thriller, right? So it just goes to show you that they're just struggling on offense, and we'll talk about why here in a bit. Next leftover. Y'all don't know what y'all missing. At 5-2, the Jags are off to their best start since 2007. Give you one guess as to who their head coach was in 2007 and who their starting quarterback was in 2007. See if you guys can get that. The Jags are for real. And I'm hearing Jags fans say, hey, this is the best team, the most complete team we've had since 99. That's saying a lot, because now you're going back to the Brunel days, and you're going back to the days of when you were making deep playoff runs. So fans are really locked in. They got themselves a quarterback. They got themselves a running back. They got a slew of weapons with Kirk and Ridley and I just was talking about the damn tight end, and now I can't think of his name. Evan Ingram, Zay Jones. I think he's a little banged up right now, but Zay Jones is really good as well. They got stuff, man. Defensively, I've been really impressed defensively with what they're doing. I thought they ran out of gas last night, though. Thought they ran out of gas, but defensively, they're doing some really good things too. So this is a like, don't sleep on Jacksonville. Do not sleep on the Jaguars. Next leftover. We got one more bite. You know how you get this the end of something, you don't want it to be done? That's where I'm at right now. After going 2 for 5 in the red zone last night on Thursday Night Football, the Saints, who came into the game 27th in the league in red zone efficiency, have now dropped to 28th in the league in red zone efficiency. If you want to know why the New Orleans Saints are 3-4 right now, you need not go any further than their lack of efficiency in the red zone. I've talked about red zone efficiency this season. I've talked about the numbers being down. The Saints are a part of why the numbers are down. They've struggled mightily in the red zone. That's why they lost to the Texans. That's why they lost this game. And that's why they've, fell victim and prey to other losses this season. Their inability to finish drives. The first week of the season against the Titans, another great example. Now, they won that game, but not by much. Again, they've got to be better if they want to win. And again, last night, obviously, you get the drop by Foster Moreau. I told you my heart ached for him. It was good to see his teammates pick him up, because I know he felt really bad. And that's my guy. But they gotta be better in the red zone. And it starts with Derek Carr. Last leftover from last night's 31-24 Jaguars victory. With the win, Jags improved to 4-0 when Trevor Lawrence goes over 40 yards or more rushing in the football game. And the Jags have won 11 of their last 14 games dating back to last season. So again, remember, they got hot late in the season, caught Tennessee, passed them, won the division, won a playoff game and come from behind fashion over the Chargers, lost to the Chiefs, right, in the playoffs, come out, win an opening day on the road at Indy, lose to the Chiefs, lose the following week, get blown out by the Texans. Everybody's kind of panicking. Now they've won 4 straight, including beating Buffalo and, getting on track, winning in the division, taking care of the Colts again, and now winning this game against the Saints. This is a dangerous team. Very dangerous, and they're gaining confidence. Doug Peterson is doing a hell of a job with this group. They're young, they're talented. They just needed guidance and direction. Urban Meyer wasn't it. Doug Peterson is. And now this team is all of a sudden believing, and they're dangerous. So that's Thursday night leftovers. Feels like 2 teams going in opposite directions right now. Stock is dropping. It's extremely low right now with the Saints. They're going down. Seems like the Jags are pointing upwards. Their trajectory is up. Stock is shooting through the roof. If you didn't get in when it was low, when they were 1-2, sorry, sucks to be you. Let's get to our final segment of the show. And that, of course, is my money picks of the week. So last couple of weeks, I've been getting my shit together. I've been kind of getting my groove back, so to speak. This is where week 7 for me is where we start to separate the men from the women, the children from the adults. That might be offensive because there's some women that know more about football than some of y'all do. So let's keep it with kids from the adults. Some of y'all are kids when it comes to this thing we call picking winners or being a prognosticator. I'm ready to turn it up. I've been kind of waiting in the weeds for my opportunity to strike. I think my time is now. So I'm ready to go get it done. So started off well. You can't be your best when you start off with a loss on Thursday. So I was able to avoid. I hate picking road teams on Thursday night football, but I already told you I ain't fooling around with the Saints no more. They ain't about a damn thing. So got it done with the Jaguars in Thursday night football, week 7, to kick off the week. So now let's get to Sunday's action. Sunday. Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. AFC South family business. If these two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, you know the rest. Falcons coming off of a tough loss at home to Washington. Bucks coming off of a tough loss at home to the Lions. Bucks hold a half-game lead over Atlanta in the division. Winner of this game will be in first place by their lonesome. Falcons are capable of going on the road and winning. The Bucks are, to me, offensively challenged. However, they're really good defensively, and I think their defense is good enough to disrupt Desmond Ridder, force him into some mistakes. Meanwhile, Baker Mayfield will not be under siege this week. The Falcons do not get a ton of pass rush. He will have time to be methodical, deliver the football where it needs to go, move them down the field. And even if they have to settle for field goals until they finally break through and get into the end zone, so be it. But I think they just do enough in this game, do the Bucks. It'll look like their win against New Orleans. It'll look like, some of their wins earlier in the season, like against Minnesota week 1, 20-17, or the Bears game, which was close until Justin Fields threw a pick 6 late in that ball game. I think it's going to be just like that's how the Bucks are going to win this season. I see them doing that here. I'll take Tampa Bay at home to increase their lead in the NFC South over the Atlanta Falcons. Las Vegas Raiders at the Chicago Bears. This is a stinker. This is funky because there's no Jimmy Garoppolo. There's no Justin Fields. Ew. That's nasty. So I think you're probably going to get Billy Ho. They probably want to go with the rookie, but we don't trust him. I think they're going to go with Billy Ho. And you're probably going to get a matchup of Billy Ho against Tyson Bagent. Yummy. Just give me the Raiders. Don't ask me no questions. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me how. Just give me the Raiders. Browns, Colts. This game, I think, is ultimately going to come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes. We saw Deshaun Watson practicing this week. Still don't know if he's going to play. Don't even care because we know that Gardner Minshew's starting for the Indianapolis Colts. And he was behaving himself so well. He really was. But we all know the truth. He's really a bad boy. Okay? And eventually, those kinds of players show their true colors. You can only hide for so long. The Browns are legit defensively. I think that they're one of the best defenses in football. Thus, I expect them to go to Indy, wreak havoc, win. I'll take the Browns on the road. I will tell you this. I'm a little uncomfortable with the amount of road teams I've taken this week. There are 13 games on the slate. I think I have 8 road winners. That's dangerous. That scares me. But I'm not going to back down. Washington at the Giants. All right, Commanders at the Giants. I've already posted my Commanders nightly news, so you already know who I think is going to win this game. It doesn't matter. I mean, there's no secret. The Giants are 1-5, and I think we're a better football team. I'm taking my boys to win this game. They're going to make us sweat. They're going to scare the hell out of us, as they always do. But when it's all said and done, I think the Commanders are the better team, and they're going to prove it. I can say this. Sam Howell has played well against every NFC opponent for the first time around. We don't know what it's going to look like that second go-round yet. We'll find out when he faces the Eagles next week. But this is the first time he's seen the Giants. He blessed the Eagles, albeit a loss, but he blessed the Eagles. He blessed the Cowboys in a blowout victory last season. People try to demean that win. Fine, whatever. The Giants have to get their share now. So I'm looking for him to bless the Giants and this time come out victorious. Give me the Washington Commanders to get back over 500 over the lowly, nasty, decrepit New York Football Giants. Detroit Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. So the Detroit Lions are 5-1 for the first time since 1993. Wowzers. They've got the best record in the NFL through 6 games for the first time since 1993. Everything's looking up for the Detroit Lions. They're playing excellent ball, and they don't have many games on the schedule remaining that they have a chance to lose. After this game against Baltimore, they'll probably be favored, and comfortably, I may add, in each of the next 5 to 6 games. I mean, their division stinks. They're clearly the class of the NFC North. So their schedule is pretty easy moving forward. That said, the Ravens have been an enigma this season. Like one of those teams you really don't know what team is going to show up. And with the defense that the Lions are playing and the physicality with which they're playing, these are the types of teams that have given Lamar Jackson trouble in the past. That said, the Ravens are the healthiest they've been all season long. They're still trying to figure things out offensively. I'm not impressed with their red zone offense. They still are lacking in that department. But I refuse to believe that the Lions are just going to win, 10 or 11 straight, which is where they're heading. They lost in week 2. They haven't lost since. If they don't lose this game, they're going to win 10 in a row, 11 in a row, something crazy like that. This is where they get tripped up. I think the Ravens are a good football team. They use this as a measuring stick game. They understand they've underachieved to this point of the season. And this is an opportunity to prove, hey, we're still physical. We're still Baltimore. We still punch people in the mouth. We're still bullies. This is an opportunity to prove it. Give me the Ravens at home in this game. Bills at Patriots. AFC East family business. You know how the family do it. You know how the Bills do it. You know how the Patriots are currently doing it. Give me the Bills. Arizona Cardinals at the Seattle Seahawks. NFC West family business. Arizona is who we thought they were. They had this little brief period where we kind of got sidetracked. They kind of gave us the sleight of hand. Hey, look over here. We scored 28 points against the Giants. Hey, look over here. We scored 27 and beat Dallas. Hey, don't mind us. Don't worry about the fact that Josh Dobbs is our starting quarterback. And we really aren't that good. Hey, look over here. Well, the sleight of hand worked up until about a couple of weeks ago. You are who we thought you are. and we're no longer letting you off the hook. Seattle, yes, they are struggling a little bit offensively, specifically in the red zone. They didn't play well in the red zone against the Giants. They didn't play well again last week against Cincinnati, which caused them to lose, but they're better than Arizona. We know that for a fact, and they're at home. I'll take the Seahawks in that matchup. Steelers at the Rams. Interesting game. I thought long and hard about this one because Steelers are coming off of a bye. Rams, they won that game going away, but that was a close ball game for a while against the Arizona Cardinals last week. I still don't know what to make of Pittsburgh, but all I needed to see was TJ Watt had an injury. That's all I need to see. He may ultimately play, but the fact that he's on the injury report and he just injured his toe or whatever, that scares me because when he doesn't play, they don't win. And they're already not that good as is. The Steelers are finding ways to win, but I'll take my chances with the Rams. Give me the Rams at home over the Steelers. I know the Steelers are going to come, take over the stadium, and make it a home game. Don't care. I'll take the Rams. If they lose, so be it, but I'm rolling with the Rams. Chargers at Chiefs. AFC West family business. If these two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, that's family business. And I'm telling you right now, this is some damn good family business. And if there's one team in that division that scares the shit out of the Chiefs, it's the Chargers. And the Chargers do not care whether it's home or away. They have no issues going to Arrowhead and winning. They always play the Chargers or the Chiefs tough at Arrowhead. They're one of the few teams that have gone in there and won recently. I think the Raiders might have done it 2 or 3 years ago, but the Chargers, they know how to play the Chiefs. And the Chargers, their back is against the wall. They're 2-3, and they can't afford to drop to 2-4. They can't afford to lose again. They blew a golden opportunity to beat Dallas and get to 3-2 on the season. And the Chiefs are vulnerable. Yep, they're better defensively this season, but their offense doesn't scare anyone right now, especially not a family member. That's right. I'm taking the Chargers on the road to go into Arrowhead and upset the Kansas City Chiefs. Give me the Chargers to bounce back when nobody thinks they're going to do so and win in week number 7. Green Bay Packers, Denver Broncos. This is nasty. Jordan Love and the Packers coming off of a bye week. Denver Broncos just searching for some sort of answer on offense. I mean, if you can't beat the Broncos, then what's really going to become of your season? That's kind of how I look at this for the Packers. You got to go in there and you got to win. They're struggling. They're trying to figure out what players they're going to trade, who they're going to release. They're not winning football games right now. If you're Green Bay, you got to go in there and win. I'm taking the Packers reluctantly. I don't trust them. I had so much confidence in Jordan Love in that group early in the season. That has waned, but it's Denver, man. You got to find a way to win. Give me the Packers in that ball game. Sunday Night Football. Oh, my stars. 5-1 Miami Dolphins taking on the 5-1 Philadelphia Eagles. That is delicioso. This game is going to be, to me, won by the team that does the best job of affecting the other team's quarterback. Because if the Eagles can get to Tua before he can get the ball to his playmakers, the Eagles will win this game. If the Dolphins can just slow down Hurts, you don't have to sack him a bunch of times. Just disrupt him like the Jets did. Make him uncomfortable. They can just do that. They'll have a chance to win. I don't think the Eagles offensively are that dynamic. I think they're getting better defensively. Here's my take. The Dolphins are explosive and they're dynamic, and I think that they're so banged up in that secondary. If Tua just gets an opportunity to deliver the ball, they're in trouble. Now, they should be getting Slay back this week, but nobody in that secondary, and I know there's nobody in the league that can run with Tyreek Hill, but nobody in that secondary can run with him or Waddle. They've got a slew of weapons. I think you can run on Philadelphia's defense. They've been running on everyone. I think this is the game where I think it's abundantly clear that they're not better on defense than they were last year. And this is how I've felt. They're not better on defense than they were last year. I just think they're better coached. I think they're more talented offensively, but they're not as well coached this year on offense, if that makes sense. So what I'm essentially telling you is they could be worse on both sides of the football, even though from a talent perspective, offensively, they are probably better than they were last season. I think the Eagles are about to hit a nice little skid for the first time with Nick Sirianni since they've been winning. Remember, he started out kind of slow his first year, and then he kind of went to that heavy run, scheme with Jalen Hurts as the focal point, running the football a ton, and they made it to the playoffs that first year and lost to Tampa. He really hasn't incurred any adversity since then. They were excellent last season. They didn't lose 2 games in a row, I don't think, at any point last season. I think they did, actually. I think they lost to the Saints and the Cowboys in consecutive weeks without Hurts. And then he had to come back in the final game of the season to make sure they won the division. But with Hurts in the lineup, they haven't lost 2 games in a row. I think that ends now. And I think they're going to lose more games in a row. Eagles fans, I think, are in for a rude awakening. Their season is about to turn upside down. Now, they're not trash and their season isn't going under, but they're going to be tested. And I want to see what kind of intestinal fortitude they have. They've been excellent front runners. But one thing I've seen from them is when shit isn't going right, they seem to not handle that very well. Whether it's their receiver screaming at the quarterback because he wants the football, or is their head coach having a temper tantrum on the sideline, slamming down his headset. They seem to be a team that can easily be rattled when shit doesn't go well. And every time they lose a game, they go to the old folks' home. This Dolphins team is really good on offense. That's an understatement. And they're solid on defense. They can be taken advantage of defensively. I think you can score points against them. But we'll see. The key is going to be, can they get to Tua? If they do that, the Eagles will win this game. If they don't, it opens up everything, including the run game. I got the Dolphins winning this game on the road, making it 2 losses in a row for the Eagles, and seeing the Eagles drop to 5-2 and the Dolphins improve to 6-1. Monday Night Football, I usually save this for the Monday pod. I haven't done a Monday pod in what seems like an eternity. And this is not a secret. It's San Francisco at Minnesota. We don't have to spend a ton of time on this. You already know what it is. The 49ers are bouncing back after a disappointing effort on the road at Cleveland. They're going to bounce back and destroy the Minnesota Vikings. I just hope Kirk doesn't regurgitate all over himself and have one of those epic meltdowns where everybody says, see, Kirk Cousins is terrible on primetime television. I hope that doesn't happen for my guy, Kirk. I hope he shows he has a respectable performance in a loss. But if they sink their teeth into him, yeah, could get ugly quick. Give me the 49ers on Monday Night Football. So there you have it. I've given you my selections. You know where I stand. I feel so good. First time this season, I think I felt this good about my selections. I think that right there is an 11-2 sheet. And 11-2 is winning some things. That's doing some damage. I think I'm going to do some damage this week. What says you? Leave it in the comment section. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. Those are my money picks of the week. Hope you enjoy your weekend. Playoff baseball. Looks like those series are starting to really heat up. Astros went and took care of business on the road, tied that thing back up at 2. They look like the Astros again. The Diamondbacks announced that, hey, we're not dead yet. Get a walk-off win. That's a 2-1 series. See if they can even the series back and send it back to Philly, tied at 2, like the Astros did. College football, big one. Ohio State hosting Penn State. Biggest matchup of the week in college football. I got Penn State. That defense is ferocious, and I think they're going to really take it to Ohio State. What I realized, a lot of Ohio State Washington Commander fans. A lot of people got on me the other day when I said Penn State. Penn State ain't gonna do shit, Louie. Okay, we'll see. I got Penn State in it. It's not often I got Penn State beating Ohio State. It rarely, if ever, is that the case. I think that defense is good. I think they're going to beat them in this game. Florida State, Duke. I expect Florida State to take care of business there. Tennessee, Alabama. Both of those teams aren't very good, if you ask me, but Bama is the better of the two. I think they get Tennessee this time around. So I think those are some of your bigger matchups this week in college ball. NBA preseason is winding down. Next week starts the regular season. So a lot of good stuff going on. Hockey's back. I'm not a hockey guy, but I know a lot of you are. So a lot of good stuff going on right now. Enjoy the weekend. You know I will. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Got a super chat on the way out. Reedy Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, basketball getting ready. How does Memphis look? The same as last year. You know, Ja's going to be out for the first 22 games or whatever it is, 22, 25 games, whatever they suspended him for. We look like the same squad. We didn't do anything. We got Derrick Rose, which is going to be huge for the psyche, I think, of Ja, because he's going to come in and mentor him. And maybe get him. Everything they did this offseason was about mentoring Ja. Marcus Smart and Derrick Rose. All of that was done in an effort to save arguably the most talented player and exciting player in the NBA from himself. So this offseason wasn't really about necessarily improving the roster as much as it is, hey, we got to save Ja. Without him, we ain't shit without him. We're back to being just the Memphis Grizzlies. So there's that. Anyway, Todd Labor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, how does Georgetown and Maryland look? I couldn't tell you. I have no idea what college basketball teams look like. I don't even know what Duke looks like right now. I usually don't figure that out until we get to those tournaments that start the season off. You know, one of those classics. We play Kansas or Michigan State or one of these really good teams. That's how I kind of identify, all right, what the hell is going on? You know, some of the names of the guys that we recruited and this, that, and the third. Georgetown's been down bad for a while. You know, Maryland, I think they're looking up. But we'll see. You know, I usually don't really identify college basketball until we're 5, 6, 7, 8 games into the season, and I get to see them 2 or 3 times, and then I can say, okay, this team's got some talent. So we'll be able to see then. Reedy Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, my Lakers ready for a run. I'll believe it when I see it. You've done some good things in the offseason. That I don't doubt, but I'll believe it when I see it. So anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the 369th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. Until next time, y'all take care. Enjoy your weekend. And hopefully next time you see me, my Commanders will be 4-3 into over 500. Have a good one. Oh, got another super. Mike Jink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mike Jink writes, sup, Louie Lou? Real one tapping in. Go Birds. That's going to be a fun game, man. Hopefully, win or lose, and you're pretty much a stand-up dude. Win or lose, hopefully I'll see you after the game on Sunday night. So, looking forward to it. Appreciate you, Mike Jink. Y'all be easy. Enjoy your weekend. Peace.
Louie T Network.